Send Her My Love from Journey. Another one of those big Journey tunes from the early 80s. Great tune, and featuring a great guitar solo by guitarist Neal Schoen, and we'll take a look at it today. Couple of small things about the tune harmonically. So this is an interesting example of a tune that's in a key that never uses the home key as a chord. We're really in the key of G, right? And if we go over what the basic chord structure is, it's C, E minor. We toggle between those two chords for the beginning of the tune, but then we'll also have a B minor chord. And then in the chorus, we'll go E minor, D over F sharp, C, add 9, A sus2. So those are all G major in sound. The reason why I say it's in G major and not in E minor, even though, you know, there is a lot of E minor in the song, but we never have the 5 chord of E minor. We never have the B. See, and that's what you call like a hard resolution to a minor key tune, by having the 5 major going to the minor. Here we have a B minor to an E minor. It doesn't really give it the same kind of thing. But what I would suggest, because of this particular chord, all right, let's take a look at what that is. That's a great chord. We got a C, G, a D, and an F sharp. So it's kind of like a C sus 2, or you could say C add 9 with a sharp 11. That F sharp is the sharp 11. But I kind of like to think of it as a C power chord with a D harmony on top. But really, in the end, what that sound is, that's a classic sound of a Lydian mode. The Lydian mode is when you have the major scale with a sharp 4. Right? It's not quite the major scale because of that F sharp note, but that's the sound that you get. And you know, that sound, to me, very much reminds me of the time period when this tune came out in the early 1980s. A lot of bands in that time period were using those kinds of sounds. And it's something that's not used that much anymore. And I kind of miss hearing that sound in terms of rock bands, right? It's used all the time in jazz and other forms of music. But just, you know, straight ahead rock, bands don't use it nearly as much as they used to. It's a cool sound harmonically. Let's get right to the guitar solo. And the guitar solo is played over the vamp of E minor, D over F sharp, C add 9, A sus2. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start like this. Now that's the first phrase. That's through the first chord progression. So let's see what the notes are that we're playing here. Sliding from A to B to E, A to B, A. F sharp, half step bend to G, E. E, F sharp, G, F sharp, D, A. So every note that I just named there is from the G major scale. You could also think of it as from the E natural minor scale, but I never played a C note, right? So one way to think about those collection of notes is if I do that like this: G, A, B, skip the C, D, E, F sharp, G, right? It's really the G major pentatonic scale with the major seventh added to it. That's the major pentatonic, right? But I usually think of it more like, okay, it's the major scale, but I'm purposely going to avoid the fourth, the C note, for now. You'll see towards the end of the solo, he does play it, and it comes into great effect. So when we're doing these notes, right, the first chord is an E minor, right? He's sliding into the fifth. Root, fifth. Now we're on a D over F sharp. He's on the fifth of that chord, the A note. Now this is a great lick. Remember, D over F sharp. Well, we're starting on the F sharp, and we're doing the half step bend, which is the same thing as going, you know, like when you have a D chord, and you do that quick sus4 kind of thing. That's a great sound on a major chord. That really longing kind of sound, haunting kind of sound. Okay, E, F sharp, G, that's on the A sus2. So he's going to the seventh of an A. That's just a D major triad, F sharp, D, A, right? Over that A. That's a cool sound, right? So let's see. E minor. Simple. Fifth root. Same phrase again, going from B to A. Now we're on the D over F sharp. Now check this out. All right, now straight pentatonic. B, D, E, G. Now we're on the C chord, right? So, okay. Now again, the same use of F sharp being bent a half step to G, and then D, A. Same concept as over here. That was a D chord. That's a D chord. You see, like, you're starting to recognize there's little patterns here that thematically, this wasn't, I mean, I don't know. It could have just been a one-take solo that he did, which actually is even more impressive if it was. But I think this was thought out. I think this was composed in a way, the same way you'd write a melody to a song. Well, this has a compositional sort of feel to it, because the ideas are so well put together, and you know they're building off of each other. So okay, so now we're landing on a D on the E minor chord. So that's the seventh. That's a nice tone right there. Okay, so we're going to take an A, bend it a half step to B. Land back on A on the D over F sharp chord. See, we did that twice already, playing that A on the D over F sharp. Well, we did it again here, but in a different way. Okay, that is the same exact thing as that we did the first time, but now it's up an octave. Right, so that A note against the E minor, that's the fourth. Okay, so that's a pretty cool sound. But then he does this. So classic E blues lick. Now that's the main part of the solo, right? But now there comes a few more phrases that the keyboard doubles, right? And it's sort of like the ending hook of the song, which is this little thing. All right, so what we're getting there B, A, B, E, B, A, B, D, B, A, B, E, right? It's sort of minor pentatonic over all those chords, the E minor, D over F sharp, C add 9, A sus 2, but it works great. Now, he continues that theme 4 times, and each time it's a little bit different. So that was the first one. Here's the second one. So those last 3 notes were a little bit different. The third time is actually the exact same as the first one. All right, and now the last time we have this. So that's a whole step bend all the way up from D to E. Let it down to D. And then there's that C note that he had been saving this whole time until the end of the solo on the very last phrase. And because what we're doing is we're ending on that C chord, and then we're and a great little phrase to just cap the whole thing off like that. So I think one of the takeaways from when you study other guitarists and the notes that they use in their solos is sometimes it's not just the notes that they're choosing, which of course are important, but it's also the way that they're playing the notes. And what I mean by that is, how are they phrased? And how are they relating to each of the chords that are in a chord progression? So, you could say, all right, well, we're just staying in the key of G. What's the big deal? Well, it's not a big deal in that way, but it's kind of a big deal when, you could have chosen any one of the 7 notes of the major scale to play over any one of those chords. But not all of them, obviously, are going to have the same impact as certain ones do. So choice of notes, where you place them, that's the important thing. And the cool thing about thinking your solos through first and then maybe recording them or whatever is that compositional sort of mentality, right, as opposed to just improvising, which of course is great as well, but there's a lot of that, and maybe a little less of actually thinking things through. I think that if you do that, not only is it going to improve your playing in general, but I think it will improve your overall musicianship. And certainly, if you have any kind of interest in writing songs in general, it can definitely benefit you with that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that breakdown. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this to come. Thanks for watching.